this might be the only chance I get to speak. If anybody knows David, he's a very good speaker. He did say that this was the pinnacle of his job, his profession.
No, I never said that.
Yes, you did. He said because he's been interviewed by some pretty high-powered people, but he said to be interviewed by a farmer in Durham, Yorkshire is the ultimate. And that's so. I used to watch a certain programme called Bargain Hunt, and this guy appeared, as he'll tell you.
There.
And I can remember seeing him, and there was an ashtray, and it had an enamel bit round it, which was obviously, a nice piece. He can't even remember, but he had two women, and all they kept doing was kissing him.
And I get paid for this.
Yeah, absolutely. But he bought this ashtray for 26 quid, and I didn't think it was worth any more. But it made £210.
Yeah, well,
£184 profit.
that was my pinnacle.
It was. Yeah. It was, because you were pretty rubbish at times.
I don't know why they keep calling, to be honest, John.
No. But we're going to make a start, and it's a wonderful story. We're going to sort of start at the very beginning. We're going to take a seat. I'm going to keep my notes there because I'll get lost. I might even fall to sleep if we go, but then we'll round it up at the end. And, first thing is, I guess you were born, David, but
We're not. Well, this is going to be a great interview.
And but as a youngster, what home that you grew up in and that kind of thing, can you remember much about it, and how you got interested in your particular subject?
Well, into antiques, I mean, this goes back to when I was a very, very young boy. I was fascinated by the stories that antiques could tell you. So even like stamps and coins, relatives would give me a coin or a stamp from, say, 1840, and I'd be fascinated by the stories that these things could tell. So it was the connections to people, John, more than anything else.
Yeah.
And I used to imagine that I could time travel, and I still feel that now. When I hold an item that hasn't changed one bit in 200 years, it feels the same, it looks the same. In some cases, it even smells the same. And I feel, I know, don't ask me what they are, but and it is a way of travelling back through time, and you're touching stuff that people handled who are long gone and long forgotten. So it was the objects, I love them, but the stories were much more interesting to me.
Yeah. So how did you get into it as a profession?
Well, that came obviously a bit later.
Yeah.
So I was collecting most of my life, and then I suppose by my early 20s, I was buying and selling antiques and classic cars, starting at about probably the age of 18. So I realised that I could make money out of stuff that I just really enjoyed handling. And I always say that you can become good at anything if you're interested enough. And I was just fascinated by ancient objects, and so they were very easy to learn about. Yeah. And you sell the backstory first, and then the item, and it just kind of worked.
Yeah. So I believe that it was really a local incident that got you into television. Rather, just tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah. So that was by accident. So I had a shop in Barney, on the bank. Yeah, so it was about 30 years ago now. Yeah. And I got a call out of the blue from Radio Tees, and they said that they'd been speaking to the curator at Bowes Museum, who had suggested that I might be a good candidate to appear live on radio the following day to talk about the trade in Barney Castle. And they rang me and they said, would you like to appear live tomorrow on radio? And I said, how many people will be listening? And she said, about 80,000. And I know, would you do it? No. Would you do it, sir? Well, you would. I can see you would do it. Well, my first thought was, absolutely not. I don't want to do it. But all my life I've experienced something, and you will recognise this, that very often when you say yes to stuff that makes you feel uncomfortable, that things happen. Doors open, you meet people, stuff begins to happen. And sometimes it can go a bit wrong, but I forced myself to say yes, and I went home and I didn't sleep a wink. It's the first time in my whole life I never slept a wink. I was petrified. Yeah. But then the following day, when the crew arrived, I met them above the Teesdale Mercury. They made up this mock studio, and I walked in, and the first thing I recognised were these people from the media who I'd never met before. I'd never met people like them. They just looked like normal people. Normal. Just like you, madam. Not so much like you, sir. They were just normal. And we just had a great time. And anyway, so we did about half an hour, and it felt like 5 minutes. Yeah. And I got back to my shop and I discovered something. I discovered that I loved the sound of my own voice.
Yeah.
You can relate to that, John, can't you?
Oh, yeah. You picked the wrong guy there. He was a professional boxer.
Oh, dear.
So you just take care.
It was the crooked nose that got it, yes.
Yeah. But obviously, when you got onto television, you found out that this was what you were going to do. This was the way forward for you. You were having a good life materially, etc. But we're now in a world that's completely different. We're now in a throwaway world. When you started that, David, we're in a world that valued equipment and that type of thing.
It's funny, isn't it? Because when you look at antiques, you're looking at stuff that was designed and made in a period before anybody had come up with this very idea to make something to break within 5 years. So you had to go and buy something else. These things were made to last for generations, and people with great talent created them. And of course, yes, the world is very different now, and it has affected, of course, the antiques business, because it is very much a throwaway society.
That's right. So we'll just sort of move on a little bit, David.
Oh, sorry for being interesting.
It's okay. But sort of religious-wise, Christian-wise, etc. Had there been anything in your youth, or not really, or what had been done?
No, nothing Christian-based. I always thought that Christianity was a bit dusty, a bit old-fashioned, and I do apologise to many of you. But I did, and I think this was subliminally taught to me at home, that Christianity was not for modern life. And so I came from, I suppose, I come from a cultural Christian family with morals and ethics and behaviour, all based upon Christian teachings, but God didn't exist. But from a very early age, this was a real problem for me, because it makes me sound like I was a really miserable child. But from as early as I can remember, I used to wonder what life was about. I used to wonder why I was alive and why anybody was alive. And it used to drive me mad. And I used to think to myself, I must do something great before I die, because otherwise, what is the point in living? And so it didn't make me miserable, because I would push it to the back of my mind, but it made me always search for a purpose and a meaning to life.
Yeah, so that was in your family, home, etc. That would go into your wife, into Hetti. But then what suddenly started changing for you, David, along the line?
Well,
I mentioned Hetti.
Yes, well, I mean, something changed very fundamentally for me. So I'd been looking for purpose and meaning for a very long time. I'd looked at Buddhism, I'd looked at all of the Eastern ways, because of course handling antiques, I was very much drawn to the Oriental, and so I would discover these fascinating stories with Buddhist pieces and Oriental philosophies, and I would be drawn to them, and I would research the religion of the East, but it never touched me. It didn't do anything for me. I looked at the Celtic ways, our old ways, getting in touch with the universe and being a spiritual person. That was just not enough at all. And then I found Stoic philosophy, and that was great. And that I was getting somewhere with Stoicism. It's kind of, it helps you deal with the tough challenges in life and take the problems and make them into a way to solve a difficulty. It's a good philosophy, but I still wasn't getting anywhere. But then something happened to our daughter. So previously she'd moved to London about 10 years ago as a young girl from Barnard Castle, but she wasn't a particularly happy girl. She was a happy girl growing up, but when she got into her teenage years, she began to really, really struggle with life. And I'm sure many of you have been through similar things. It was a very difficult time. And so we decided as well, we agreed that maybe she should go to London, find a new way, experiment with London. She got a job in an art gallery and she went to London. But within a few years, things got steadily worse and she became more and more unhappy, to a point where I don't mind admitting that when the phone would ring and I would see that it was my daughter, Hetti, I didn't want to answer the phone because I was afraid of what I was going to hear, afraid of the conversation. At one point I was afraid that it wouldn't be Hetti, it might be somebody else telling me that something had gone terribly wrong, because she became supremely depressed. And then she started experimenting with spiritualism. And when she announced this, that she was training to be a medium, now, knowing now what I know after studying Christian philosophy, Christianity, I realized just how horrific that is. Deep and dark and disastrous. I didn't know it at the time. And so we thought, well, okay, if it's going to help you, we encouraged her. So she began to train as a medium. But then things went just so dark, and she didn't want to wake up in the morning. She didn't want to be alive. She wanted to die. And she was disappointed when she woke up. And this was terrible for us to deal with, as you can imagine. And I was absolutely useless, worse than useless. Anything and everything I tried failed. I couldn't help my daughter. And it was devastating. And then she announced that a medical professional in London had said to her, "Your problem is spiritual." This is a medical professional. She was on all sorts of antidepressants, all sorts of therapy. Nothing could help her. And she was advised to look for Jesus. This person that had always been around in my life, in Christianity, and Western civilization is built on Christianity. I knew of this person, Jesus. In truth, John, I didn't even know whether he was a real historical person. I had no knowledge, but we supported it, of course. Great. So she found a church and a lovely pastor and his wife, and she started exploring Christianity and looking for Jesus. And over weeks and months, we saw the change in this girl. She got lighter and brighter. She went from pitch black death to light and bright life over a period of a few months. She changed in front of our eyes. And I witnessed this over a 15-month period as a non-Christian, someone who was skeptical of Christianity, had always been taught that it was a fairy tale, that the Bible was not true, the Bible was written by man to control man, that it was just a belief, a blind faith. This was my upbringing, this is what I believed in. But it was working seemingly for my daughter. Yeah. But I was unsure whether it was going to last. And then in December 2024, she came home for 2 weeks, and we just had the most amazing time. We visited churches. We went to Durham Cathedral, York Minster. She spoke about Jesus. She was on fire for this person, Jesus. And she was talking about him constantly, not forcing it upon us. I was fascinated. And for 15 months, I'd been asking questions. I was learning about Christian philosophy, which I was discovering was so superior to Stoic philosophy. And bizarre that it was this philosophy was helping her. And then at that time, in December 2024, I decided finally, after 15 months of skeptically watching, that this is real, whatever it is. It has fixed my daughter. And so I decided one Sunday morning to sit down and research this thing, Christianity, this thing that had been around me all my life. It's around all of us. It's on the village green, it's at school, it's in the parliament, it's everywhere. It is really what built Western civilization. Without it, I don't know where we'd be. I thought, well, I've got to get to know it. And so I thought I'd give myself, John, 2 hours to work out. I know the Christians in the room are giggling. Yeah, 2 hours to work out what it is about Christianity that changes people so fundamentally. And I sat down and began to research it like I would any antique. A George III chest on chest, I would look at its handles, look at the colour of the wood, the way it was constructed, the shape of the feet, date it, where it was made, how it was made, what it was made from. I used the same methodology. And within the first 2 hours, I was blown away by the information I was getting. But I didn't want the spiritual. I didn't want this thing that Hetti had told me that she was spiritually transformed. I wanted facts, I wanted science, I wanted documentation, I wanted proof that I could hang my coat on. And I began to get it instantly. Layers and layers and layers of proof that blew me away.
That's right. But you had all that knowledge, David, up in this head. But we both know a chap called John Lennox.
Well, yes, John Lennox.
He has a marvellous saying, and that is that when you can take that knowledge from your head and move it 18 inches to your heart and find the reality of it, that's when things start moving. And
it is true, but it took me a very long time.
Yeah, and how did that happen then, David?
Well, because I thought to myself, I'm going to start at the very beginning, where these Christians say it began, which is the beginning of time, the universe. Now, I was taught growing up, I don't know how, that the beginnings of the universe are so complicated and there are so many different theories, nobody knows how it began. But just a little bit of research will tell you that there are only 2 options to the beginnings of the universe. The universe either made itself by accident out of nothing for no purpose and no reason, or the universe was created by an intelligence. So when you look at it quite logically and rationally, you soon come to the conclusion that nothing can be made out of nothing. You cannot make something out of nothing, and therefore there must be a creator of the universe. So I came to that conclusion quite quickly, and mathematics comes into it, physics comes into it. The universe is designed very complicatedly, like an enormous clock. Remove one part, change one balance, the whole thing will implode. The science behind the universe is mind-boggling, and it's quite clear that it's mathematically perfect. This cannot happen by accident. So I came to the conclusion that yes, there must be a creator. And then I looked at life. What about life? Evolution. Did life just spark from nothing? Did life, was it created out of non-living things, as I was taught at school? Or is there a creator? So I read Darwin's theory of evolution, The Origins of Man, published in 1859, and I realised that this science that Darwin quoted is 150 years old. We were in Barnard Castle travelling around on horses. Some people might have had a penny farthing. Most people just walked. And most people never left the town. No cars, no aeroplanes, no electricity, no indoor toilets, no free education. This is the world where the theory of evolution was born. Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to then look at modern scientific discoveries, particularly DNA. DNA blew my mind. And I looked into DNA, and all of us, as you know, have a DNA number. And it's like a computer code. And it's written throughout your body. You'll find it in every follicle of your body, in a flake of skin, in a toenail clipping. Your DNA number is in it. And it is all you. No human has the same number. No human ever has. And it is word, letter, perfect every time. Yeah. And DNA is a code that communicates with itself throughout your body, teaches you how to breathe, keeps you alive. It is remarkable. It is nanoscience. And I love cars, and I thought to myself, well, I can't imagine what 3 billion is. So I thought to myself, if I put my digit, my 3 billion DNA code on a car number plate, how long would it be? And I calculated that mine and your DNA number placed on a car number plate would be 300,000 miles long. Word, letter, digit, perfect, every single time. It will wrap around the world 12 times. And to get a real accurate size of that DNA number, you can take your finger, your forefinger and your thumb, and measure a gap of about 1 millimetre. We can all do that. You can see 1 millimetre. And then you divide that gap by 1 million. That's the size of one of your DNA numbers. And that number on a car number plate is 300,000 miles long. This is nanoscience beyond comprehension. And I'm absolutely convinced if Darwin knew about DNA, he would not have written his theory. So I came to the conclusion that there is a creator of life.
So I'm going to stop you on that point. And it just tells me that each one of us, David, is unique in God's sight.
Some of us more unique
and
than others.
We're all precious in God's sight. But
it's funny because
then I want to know when the reality actually.
Well, I promise you I will get to it, but I promise you I will. But this was a 3 month. I'm trying to get 3 months into half an hour here. But on the DNA point, it's funny because I was reading the New Testament for the very first time in my life. So I was studying Jesus. I was studying the historiography of the Bible, which I was told was, make believe. It was bonkers because I discovered the Bible is not 2 books, the Old and New Testament. It's 66 books, written over 1,600 years by 40 authors on 3 continents in 3 different languages, and it knits together perfectly. Perfectly. There are 66,000 proven connections in the Bible. And Professor Jordan Peterson describes it as the world's first and only hyperlinked book. It references itself like Wikipedia does. Yeah. And this was all mind-blowing to me. But reading the New Testament, I read something. It said Jesus was talking to his disciples. And of course, I'd learnt by now that Jesus was a real person, guaranteed. More written about him in history than any other person. More written about him in antiquity than any other person. Proven beyond any doubt. And he said to his disciples, God knows you so well that every hair on your head is numbered. And at that time I was reading about DNA. And it was really quite remarkable that what he said 2,000 years ago has now been proven to be scientifically correct. Yeah. Every single hair on your head is numbered. Yeah. So I got to a point where I believed the Bible was accurate, it's historical, it's allegorical, it's symbolic, it's prophetic, it's wise, it's poetic, it's musical. Every page on the Bible has a wisdom that we can all learn from. You may not like everything the Bible says, but it is a manual for life. And so I came to a point where I thought, if Jesus is who he said he is, God, then this is a dramatic moment. Are we having a problem?
Just
Is someone trying to turn me off?
no, I'm trying to count the hairs on your head.
And
Go on.
okay, so I got to a point where I believe that the Bible was accurate. You can look at the first century documents relating to the New Testament, and you can prove that those documents have not been changed. I thought they had, dare I say, evolved over 1400 years until the printing press was invented in the 1450s, and then the final incarnation of this make-believe story was put down in print. But we can prove that the first century documents are pure, that what was written in the first century has not changed. So this is all mind-blowing. And I remember speaking to a pastor friend of mine, and I went for a drink with him, and I said, I'm discovering all of this stuff, these facts, these disciples who ran away in fear when this man Jesus was crucified, and then they say he came back to life, and then suddenly they were filled with courage, and each and every one of them spent 40 years being tortured and persecuted and ridiculed and died for something that they say they saw. And I said to him, nobody dies for a lie. People die for things that they might believe in, but nobody dies for something that they know did not happen. And so I said to him, why didn't you tell me this? Because if church people had told me this growing up, it would have changed my life. Anyway, so I thought I need to investigate the resurrection. I never believed that the resurrection was true. And so I looked at 2,000 years worth of investigations against the resurrection. I wanted the best cases against it. These men, people and women say that this real person who really lived and really died came back to life. So give me the options. And so I read 2,000 years worth, and nobody can debunk the resurrection. The only logical, rational, beyond a reasonable doubt conclusion is that the resurrection is a historical fact. So I came to the point where I believed that he was God. So I believed in the end, and I believed in creation. But I kind of just held it in my mind as if it was just another fact, like Queen Victoria living. It didn't mean anything to me. And then you mentioned John Lennox, and I was going through some really quite emotional, disturbing experiences because I really felt like I was on the brink of becoming one of those people that I'd spent my life running away from, those born-again Christians. I thought, if I believe this stuff, that's what I'm going to be. And I started having panic attacks, thinking I was making a mistake. I must be missing something. But I wasn't. And then my emotions started shifting. I woke up and I felt just a bit more joy. I started getting these rushes of emotions of joy and happiness from nowhere. And it would make me want to laugh or cry. And I could be filming, I could be speaking to somebody in a supermarket, and it would come over me, head to foot. It hit me from nowhere, and I couldn't control them. And I tried to hold on to them, but I couldn't. It was coming and going. It was the most bizarre thing. And then one morning I woke up and everything felt clear. All the dots, all my research began to come together. It all made sense. And then I had a flash memory of a conversation I'd watched on YouTube with Dr. John Lennox from Oxford University. Now, Professor Lennox is a mathematician at Oxford and an evangelical Christian, a very vocal Christian, a very interesting man. I've watched lots of debates with him and atheists because during my research I wanted to know what the atheists said, and in the book I give links to all sorts of different atheist points of views and atheists who have become Christian after their own research. But it was something that John said, and in an interview somebody said to him, how do you know Christianity is true? How can you prove it? And he said, well, I think I can. He said, I'll give you an example. 2 weeks ago I met a girl that I used to teach. 6 months ago I saw her. She was poorly. She was depressed and suicidal. And I thought, gosh, that sounds very much like Hetti. I saw her 2 weeks ago. She's full of life. She's full of light. She's joyful and she's happy and she wants to live. And I said to her, what's happened to you? And she said, I've found Jesus Christ. And it was at that moment, after about 3 months of ruthlessly looking for evidence, 7 days a week, that knowledge that I now had in my head fell the 18 inches into my heart, into my soul that I now believe I have, because I'd researched souls and evidence for it in the book. And I realised that for years, all of the doctors that Hetti had seen in London had tried everything. Nobody could fix her. She wanted to die. Now she tells me she wakes up most mornings feeling like the luckiest girl in the world. And I realised in that moment that nobody could fix her. But now she's fixed. And therefore, Jesus Christ saved my daughter's life.
Amen.
And it is as simple as that. And I fell to my knees and I cried out to God. And I thanked him for saving her. And I thanked him for saving me. Because in that moment, I became one of those people. And it has changed my life.
Completely.
And the thing is, John, as I say to people now, it's free. All my life, I believed that anything worthwhile you had to pay for. You had to earn money and buy it. And a sign of success was material wealth. I didn't know that the joy you get from finding this thing called Christianity, this person called Jesus Christ, is the most wonderful thing that could ever happen to you.
Amen.
And it is the thing that every single born-again Christian will tell you is the best thing that's ever happened to them. Never mind getting married, never mind having children, genuinely. It is the best thing that could ever happen to you. And it's all free.
That's right.
It's bonkers.
Yeah.
You couldn't make it up.
No. Not at all.
You couldn't.
Not at all.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But there's
But
also,
why hadn't anybody told me this, John?
yeah, well, you wouldn't have wanted to hear it.
No, I did want to hear it. I've been searching for
but
it all my life.
But you wouldn't.
Well, I tell you I would.
Yeah, but you wouldn't.
I would have had a much better life.
No, I know, but you might not have taken it from me. No, you might not. But there's and that's absolutely tremendous, David. But there's also somebody else in your life. She's a wonderful lady. I've just met her a time or two. But how did she sort of take to this, Wendy?
Wendy, well, she, I don't know where she is. Where are you, Wens?
She's probably picking.
I can
litter.
hear her laughing somewhere.
Yeah,
There she is. Yeah, she's still picking litter up. Yeah. Well, Wendy was subjected to my research. It took me 11 months, this, in total. So from the 2 hours, turned into 11 months, 7 days a week. I turned down work, I turned down money, because I couldn't stop researching. So Wendy was very much my sounding block. And so I'd call her in, I'd go, Wend, I've got something to tell you. What do you think about this? And I'd be explaining something about how the disciples suffered or whatever. The New Testament, Old Testament. I'd be telling her all this information. And so she got everything that I got. Whether she wanted to get it or not, I'm not so sure, but she got it. And it has changed Wendy's life too. Not as dramatically as me, but Wendy had a very gentle conversion, if you like. But I think she was much further up the scale than I was. Yeah. I was very much down the scale. Yeah. Wendy was much closer to Christianity than me.
Yeah. It'd be quite good actually, but we haven't got time for me to tell it from where I came from. But as such, just to contrast the different stories. But that was Wendy. How then did it affect your working life? And we'll just get this wound up now, David, slowly. And then.
Well, I don't quite know how it is going to affect my working life. I was told I published the book in December last year, very quietly, really. Some of you I'm on Facebook with, you'll remember I've written this book. You know, it's more of a spiritual thing. It's got nothing to do with antiques at all. And it became a bestseller very quickly, within about 2 weeks. And a couple of people in television, very kindly, they weren't being nasty, they just said to me, look, I would just tone down this Christian thing that you've discovered. You're saying you're a born-again Christian, watch out, because maybe this is going to affect your TV work. And so I didn't tone it down at all. It sort of gave me more incentive to speak out about it, because it is so important. But it hasn't as yet affected my work. The only way I can describe it is that I've come against a wall of silence. It's like David Harper's coming on set, don't mention the book. Nobody asks me anything. They all know, because all my emails are flying around to the BBC and different people all the time, and it says at the end of my email, the God Conundrum, bestseller on Amazon. I'm ruthless. They all know about it. Nobody talks to me about it. Mind you, I was filming in Newark, I don't know, a couple of months ago with a mate of mine who has an antique centre. We went out for dinner, and he said to me, David, I've got to tell you, I've had the Antiques road trip in today. I went, oh great, who was it? And he told me who it was. And I won't say who it was. But one of the people, one of the on-screeners, someone I know, ran up to him and said, she said, Rob, what's happened to David Harper? He's gone mad. And I thought, great, you can think what you like, because I don't care. So it has changed everything.
Yeah.
But my TV work is still there for the time being. And I don't want to get fired. You know, they'll probably see this video and video. By the way, just in case you're with the wrong partner tonight, or the tax man is after you, I forgot to mention I'm videoing it. Half the audience exits immediately.
Yeah. So I'm going to bring it to a close.
I've only just begun, John.
Yeah. That was a bit I was.
I'm here till Tuesday. I don't know about you.
That was a bit I was worried about as such, but it's just been wonderful to listen to you, David. And before I came out tonight, because I'm a last minute person, I just looked in my Bible, and it's getting a little bit worn now. Is my Bible? As I get older, I use it more. The words that it says to me.
Is that because you're getting closer to the end?
Well, could be. But many years ago, a godly man said to me, he said, John, he said, always read your Bible. You're putting in something good. And he said, out of it, something good will come. But I just found a verse, David, and I felt that this would sum up the evening, really, and what you've said to us. As such, it may be nothing to some people, but it's Matthew 7, and beginning to read at verse 7, it says this, ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open to you. Well, you absolutely bashed the door down as such, but I guess that's really been your story, is that you started asking. God wants us to ask, and God wants us to seek him. You started seeking him, but then you knocked, and the door was open to you, and that's what I think is wonderful about the Christian faith. God doesn't put anything on us. We don't have to do anything. It's as you said, it's a free gift from God. It's the greatest gift that man can receive, and I just think that that's really how I'd like to sum it up tonight, and just to say that Jesus gives us the invitation to follow him. And I'll just say to everybody, how will you respond this evening to that call? Are you going to say something? I guess you are, I can see you are.
No, I just would like to say to any skeptics out there, like I was my whole life, that if Christianity is true, it should be able to stand up to scrutiny. Yeah. And it should be able to answer every single question you have against it. If it can't, there's a problem. Now, I asked every single question I could find, and every question I got from people I interviewed on my journey. And I found that Christianity can answer it. And all the answers are in my book.
That's right, that's right. You know, this country was a Christian country. It has a Christian culture, but that is totally under threat. All you people in here have been fortunate to be alive and live under that culture. 1400 years of Christianity. You might not have agreed with it, you might not have wanted to believe in it, but that's what it's been. And you see, behind that, you need a powerful Christian people who are praying and coming together and asking God to have mercy on this land. And we're at a point in time, at this point in history, where we need to call out to God to come back and just put his hand on this country and just lead us forward in the days to come. You're going to talk again, aren't you?
No, I'd love to, but I know people are looking a bit tired now.
Yeah.
But I do agree with that. I think the sooner that the nation turns back to Christianity, the sooner we'll save the nation. Because I think if we don't, we're going down the pan very, very quickly. And I genuinely believe that if we don't turn back to our culture, we'll lose it. And I think the starting block is Christianity, which, sorry, you going?
Yep.
Yeah. Which built Western civilization from the foundation up. Okay, that's it. Go on.
Yeah. Thank you. Well done. Thank you very much.